So, congratulations on this project, Mondo Hollywood. It was a very entertaining watch. Let's get into a little bit of how you made this for $10,000.
Yeah, give and take. It was a definitely a micro budget film. Obviously, when you release a film, there's kind of other additional costs and stuff like that. But yeah, the production budget was around there, 10, maybe 15. But like, yeah, it was very low budget, and that's just what we kind of had to work with. We just started, kind of shooting. We shot it on a cell phone, so just keeping the cost as minimal as possible because we didn't have the money was key. But we also kind of used that as a way. We didn't want to like pretend it was a bigger movie. We wanted to really soak in the fact that it was like a kind of a movie that was kind of made with duct tape and elbow grease,
Mhm.
and in many ways it kind of helps, I think, tell the story of a more like this is made from people on the on the streets. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily a movie that's like has big money behind it. It's more of a kind of decent like a you know Francis Ford Coppola talks a lot about the democratization of film. So
Mhm.
it's cool that I think I hope that shows people, hey, you can go out and make a movie for a cheap budget.
So what is your film background? Okay, since you shot this on a phone's a camera phone. Um, it doesn't look like it was shot on a camera phone. It has a
Oh,
very good quality to
cool.
it. So, what's your film background? Is that such a great quality?
Yeah, so I started making more like experimental films, and what I would do, I didn't once again kind of had a difficulty raising money. So what I would do is I would take a lot of like stock footage from like the 40s and 50s, like anti communist propaganda stock footage and like other types of propaganda footage, and I would kind of tell stories out of it, coded with a little bit of humor and like experimental editing.
Hmm.
So I would kind of originally started doing more of that stuff and short films and stuff like that. And I think I utilized that helped me kind of utilize some of the editing style in it. Because it's a very kind of fast cut, very like very fluid film.
Hmm.
So I think my background and some of like piecing together large swaths of footage to tell a story helped me a little bit kind of construct some of it, because we were obviously able to shoot a lot. A very talented cast that were a lot of improv actors, and we kind of did stuff on the fly with my producing partner Chris Blim, my writing partner Blim and Marcus. Like we were able to kind of like get a lot of things in there, and then it was kind of just about cutting it up and kind of making it more like in its presentable kind of psychedelic way, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, the cast is pretty awesome, and that's a pretty large cast for such a small budget. How did you manage that?
Well, luckily, I think early on it was kind of, I think, a smart move that Blim and I were like, okay, well, let's cast our friends. We were fortunate to have extremely talented, actor friends. So with that, it made it a little bit easier to kind of be like, hey, can we shoot this day? Like it wasn't like a rigid shooting schedule with like maybe someone like Blim and I, and a few of the other characters it was, but like because it was so spread out, we were able to kind of like cherry pick. Okay, maybe we'll shoot this person's stuff here. So thankfully, everybody kind of knew we weren't working with the budget and we didn't really have money. So everybody was really kind of trusted us that we would make something kind of cool, and that's all you can really ask for from a director or producer or writer is like a cast that kind of trusts what you're doing.
Mhm.
And it's like I'm still shocked that they did it because like, sometimes we wouldn't even like have like like the script wouldn't be fully be there. It would be like, hey, this is the essence of the scene, and they didn't have a lot of context for what was going on. So I really appreciate that they were kind of trusting to kind of be like, oh, okay, well they have some plan for this. I think you know what I mean.
So, what kind of phone did you shoot on?
It was an iPhone 8 Plus,
Uh-huh.
so it was like a yeah. So since then they've become a lot better. But and we didn't actually shoot it. You can shoot 4K in that film, but we didn't shoot 4K because I wouldn't be able. I didn't have enough money to have a computer that can take in 4K and be able to cut the way I cut. So it was actually even just HD. It wasn't even 4K. So the phone, I think, I think it did its job. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I see it.
With the iPhone's limited space, how often were you dumping footage onto a computer or a hard drive?
So every day after we would shoot, I would spend like 3 hours transcoding it all and then, or dumping it and then transcoding it to an Apple ProRes 422 and then putting it in the folder and all that stuff. So it was so annoying. But yeah, so every day I would, sometimes I would do it because we would shoot like 10, 20 minutes or like 2 or 3 hours only in a day. And then the next day we'd shoot 2 or 3. So I'd sometimes wait like, oh, okay, I'll just do like a couple days in one, footage dump. But no, it was like every night we shot, I would go and go and you go and dump it all and then transcode it all to Apple ProRes 422 so it can cut smoother and all that stuff. So
Well, it definitely shows that you have passion for this. So how did this story come to you? Why did you want to make a story like this in such a small budget?
so it all kind of goes back to like 2014. There was a screening of Mondo Hollywood, which is a 1967 cult classic that's a little bit more like a documentary. Ours is obviously much more fictionalized and narrative. But Paul Thomas Anderson presented the original Mondo Hollywood, which I recommend everybody watch. A big reason why we made this is kind of it's an homage to that movie. And that kind of gave me this idea to like, oh, what if we did a more modern kind of version like this? And I kind of had this weird thing where it's like Titans, Weirdos, Dreamers, and then which is the three chapters. And I was originally going to do it in VR, so I shot VR footage for it, but I didn't really like VR. I'm more of like a film person. I thought maybe it would be similar, but it was just not my thing. So I know some people who excel in it and do really well, and I think there's a future for it. But it just and then Marcus helped me kind of write wrote the narration for this whole thing that was supposed to be this like weird documentary kind of thing. But then when I met Blim, who's kind of like my partner in crime here on this movie, and we both did this movie together, it's like he really like broke open the whole thing, and we worked a lot on making it more fictionalized. So we kind of used his character as he plays Boyle as a way to kind of like, he's kind of the through line throughout the movie. And then along the way, we all kind of like wrote with these little vignettes of characters and kind of kept structure in mind, although it seems a little crazy, there is like buried structure underneath it. And that's kind of how it came about. It was just originally this thing that I was going to make, but then it kind of morphed once I met more people and especially Blim. And we kind of started making it more of a narrative film as opposed to this original conception that was like more of a documentary, VR, all these weird ideas. But eventually it kind of turned into this.
So where are people going to be able to watch this? How are you going to distribute it?
So it's available right now on Amazon Prime, just a couple bucks to rent, and then it'll soon be on like Apple TV, and then in November it'll be on free on Prime, I believe. If and perhaps maybe like Hulu or Netflix, we're waiting to find out. But right now, Amazon Prime, you can buy it or rent it for a couple bucks, and then that's the ideal spot. So just check it out because that's mostly where it is.
Awesome. So where can people find you on social media? Where can they see the film's journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely check out Assembly Line Entertainment on Instagram. Good Hammer is Blim's company. Check out them on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter at Janek Ambros 88. That's pretty much it. And then for Mondo, obviously, I forgot. Mondo Hollywoodland is the Instagram. We're kind of dishing out some more like behind the scenes stuff and all that kind of stuff as we hit more platforms. So yeah, check that stuff out.
Awesome, man. And what's up next for you?
Well, I actually made a film that was over a few years that was an anthology of a lot of different shorts I made. So I put them into one collective piece. That's kind of this like look at the rise of fascism in the West and like Wall Street and war and all these kind of big topical things. And I put them together in this feature, and it came out like in March 2020, right when COVID hit. So it kind of had a weird release. So now I'm kind of just re-pushing that out a little bit, and that's called Money, Fascism, and Some Sort of Acid, and you can watch that on Amazon Prime too. And then I got a lot of other kind of little some a little bit bigger films going on with Assembly Line as a producer and stuff. One is an Ecuadorian documentary that my friend Gallo directed that I produced called Legends of Teos, and that's a really cool documentary that's like about exploration in Ecuador, and it's really cool. So yeah, check that out if you can too. That's also on Amazon Prime.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. Mondo Hollywoodland is a pretty awesome film. I do recommend people watch it. It is a much higher quality than what I expected, hearing that it was shot on a phone.
Cool, man.
Okay. Thanks for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too, man. All right.